So tonight we are going to start in reclined butterfly or Supta Baddha Konasana. So come down to your mats. I am going to prop myself up so I don't lay flat on my mat, but you want to lay flat on your mat or grab a couple of pillows. That's totally up to you, your preference, but you'll just come down to your spine. And then again, if you prop yourself up or not, your choice. And then soles of your feet to touch, knees out wide. And you might want props underneath your knees here. So if you've got a couple blocks or pillows, you can always put them underneath your knees just so you have a more gentle opening, especially because we'll be laying in here for a little bit just to center and ground. So get into a cozy shape that feels good to you. And for me, my low back is achy tonight and my hamstrings are super tight because I can't tell you the last time I went for a walk and left my house. So because I sit pretty much all day at my computer, low back is really bothering me. So just be gentle with yourself, be kind to yourself, listen to where you're at, use props if you need them. I'm using several and I will throughout class tonight. So once you're in your cozy shape, try to stop fidgeting. It's so easy to get here and then you've got that nervous energy and maybe anxious energy just from this crazy start to 2021. Jeff was showing me a series of Instagram posts about the first 3 Wednesdays in 2021. And, it just also happens to be yoga days, which is just kind of nuts. I made a comment about that last week of just Wednesdays just happen to be like the craziest days, but apparently a good Wednesday. So hopefully everyone feels some sense of calm and relief today. And as you're here on your mat, just coming to what brought you here tonight. Maybe it's, your weekly thing that you sign up for and look forward to, which is awesome. Maybe you like, I don't know about yoga this week or today. You're like, oh man, what day is it? I certainly forgot almost that it was Wednesday just because we had Monday off for MLK and I've been thrown off all week. So if that's you too, just breathe into your yoga mat. Just breathe into your body, letting your belly fully expand out on your inhales and then fully release. And come to a word or intention for class tonight, and maybe it's a word or a phrase that comes to mind. Maybe it's a feeling or an emotion or just, something random. But whatever it is, just on your next inhale, allow your belly to fully expand out with air. And then on your exhale, just let it all go. Sealing your intention here tonight, coming back to that throughout your practice as you need. Sometimes I say that when it rains, it pours, and when stuff is really hard, it seems like everything's hard at the same time, and there's just like never-ending things that come and hit you. And it's almost like a test, like how much more can come and knock me down or, make it worse or whatever. And it felt like for a while there, not only with the things that were happening in the world, but just personally in my family and stuff, it just seemed like there was just a lot happening all at once. And finally, when you get on the other side of that and good stuff starts to happen, it's almost like, should I get excited about things or should it be so good or whatever? And I've just learned to go with the flow a little bit more and to allow. And for whatever reason, when stuff's really hard, I just tell myself, there's a reason for this, even though it sucks or whatever. There's a purpose for this of some kind. And when stuff is good, just enjoying that it's good and embracing that it's good and being thankful and grateful that it's good. And I know that can be so tough when you've been used to things not being so great. But it's really important to savor those moments and have gratitude for them, because sometimes it does take a while to get there. So my word for this week is just gratitude and just being grateful to be coming out of the other side of a lot of really hard stuff. And I hope that today, also marks something for a lot of you, and good stuff ahead. So on your next exhale, just breathe out all of your stale air, allowing your belly button to really connect down with your spine. Imagine that you could touch your belly button to your spine, releasing fully empty, pausing on the empty, and then fully expand your belly all the way out as if you're inhaling or blowing up a big balloon, letting it fully get as big as my belly is right now without even trying. Holding at the top, and then letting it all go. Again, imagining that your belly button can just touch down to your spine. So as you move throughout class tonight, just a reminder about your breath. It's so important, and it will carry you through the really hard stuff in life and in yoga. And it's just a really great reminder that your breath is here always. And thinking about breathing actually is really beneficial. So take some time, take some rounds of breath here, really open up into the start of your practice. Again, just breathing in what you need, releasing what you don't. And if you've used props underneath your knees, you can move those off to the side. And in your next inhale, just start to bring your knees in, close them like a book, and then bring your knees in towards your chest. And then just rock your knees from side to side, just to allow your low back to open up. We've held that for a bit, so you should feel some tension there in your low back area. And then when you're ready, we are going to take a few supine twists here in the beginning of class. So if you need to, you can move props around. But you'll tee out your arms, bring your knees to a tabletop position, and on your next exhale, just start to gently bring them over towards the left-hand side of your mat. And then you might have noticed that your right shoulder blade popped off of your mat. Just see if you can rotate your upper body to allow both shoulder blades to be firmly on the mat. And that might mean that you need to come off of your twist a little bit. You might need a pillow or a block underneath your knees or in between. You might need to come more onto your back. You might need a prop underneath your low back area. Take as much time as you need to set up here. And then slowly on your next exhale, bring your gaze over to your right fingertip, so the opposite direction of where your knees are going, and then softly close your eyes. So here in this twist, imagine a dish rag that is hanging over your sink and is soaking wet, and you need to wring out every ounce of water so that it can dry out. So as you are in this twist, just on your exhales, imagine that you're wringing that rag out. And if you can imagine that, it's almost like your inner organs and your body is getting that rinse out. You're in a twist, you're holding it for a few minutes, and going from left to right, there is purpose there. So it really helps aid digestion if you go from the left to the right and you're twisting. Just a random thing I learned in my yoga training, but it does really just help massage your internal organs, and it gives your body just a release and allows you to really open up, especially in your low back. So for me right now, I'm feeling a lot of opening happening in my low back. I also feel it in my right hip flexor area. So it just depends on how open or tight you are. But just that visual of releasing out, just imagine that everything that's coming out of that dish rag that you're bringing out here is just that stuff that you've been carrying that you no longer need to carry anymore. That stuff that you feel like, man, this is really bothering me and I just don't know what to do, or I don't want to deal with it or whatever. It just hangs out somewhere, right? It doesn't just go away. We wish it would just, disappear, but it ends up getting stored in our bodies. And that's why we tend to have a lot of injuries or illness or just other stuff. Our stress manifests in physical ways if we don't deal with it. You can have a lot of medical issues just because, you're really ignoring your stress and you're not letting yourself fully get through something. So just use this as an opportunity to release and use your breath, get through that hard stuff that no longer serves you or just isn't worth carrying anymore. Just let it go. People, emotions, things, reactions to stuff, things outside of your control, which is pretty much everything. Just try to release that and let that go. Using your breath here. And allowing whatever emotion or feeling or thought come up. And then just imagine that you're just releasing it out and letting it go. Take 2 more rounds of breath here on your own time, just finishing the cycle of breath that you're on, allowing, again, your belly to fully expand out and then collapse down, allowing the breath to actually be in your belly and not in your chest. And slowly, when you're ready, start to bring your knees back to center. And you'll tee your arms back out, but before you twist the other side, just rock out your low back again. And then you might need to move props around or do whatever is going to feel good to you. And slowly on your next exhale, start to bring your knees over towards the right side of your mat. And again, paying attention to your left shoulder blade lightly popped off your mat, just seeing if you can rotate your chest open a little bit. You might need the use of some props here to help you out with that. And each side is going to feel so different. So just honor where you're at. Pay attention to the feelings that are coming up in your body or areas of tension. So this side feels so much different for me personally than the other side, and I'm just paying attention to what's different and might be where I'm storing some of my tension or where I really need to work on my mobility. So paying attention to that. And then on your next exhale, if you haven't done so already, start to bring your gaze towards the left side of your mat and then close your eyes once you're there. And if you've had a hard time staying still and paying attention to your breath, you can always bring your right hand to your belly just to encourage your belly breathing. And as I often mention, if your mind wanders, you drift somewhere else, or you start worrying about something or just thinking about stuff like, man, I've got to do all this stuff, I got to pick up the house and blah, 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 this for work tomorrow, whatever, stop. Bring yourself back to your breath, bring yourself back to your yoga mat. You're here right now. The 60 minutes is for you. Everything else can wait because you can't do anything about any of that stuff right now anyways. So not worth your time thinking about it. Just spend your energy here. Back to your thoughts on your mat. Paying attention to sounds and smells and things you can see if your eyes are gently open, and just sensations in your body. Bring yourself back to your senses, just really help bring you back to your body. So if you find yourself just kind of spinning out or thinking, can't shut your brain off. That happened to me last night in the middle of the night. I woke up really early, like 1 a.m., and pretty much was up until I was up. I drifted off a few times here and there, but it was just one of those nights where I could not fall back asleep. I couldn't get comfortable, no matter what position I was in. I couldn't get there. And then, of course, my mind was racing, and I kept telling myself, just come back to your breath, use your breath, and that did help really calm me down. And sometimes you will have, nights like that or moments like that where you're doing everything you can, and sometimes you just have to be okay with the fact that, didn't turn out quite how you wanted, or couldn't get back to sleep or whatever. But I guarantee I'm going to sleep heck of a lot better tonight, because I just, super tired. Obviously yoga also helps with that stuff. So just use your breath. Find what's going to bring you some inner peace. Coming back to that word or intention of your practice. Finding that gratitude for those good things. Maybe it's just something so simple. Maybe you're like, well, everything right now sucks. Which I was, just in that place not too long ago. And you can still find things or little moments to be grateful for, right? So if it's like a warm cup of coffee, or, a song that you really enjoy, a good book, or just a little something, yoga, something, breath work, all that good stuff. Just listing those things out in your brain just helps you find gratitude for the small things, and recognize that even when stuff is not so great, that there's still some really good stuff to be grateful for. So coming back to that, and taking a few more rounds of breath on your own here, taking in what you still need, imagining that every breath in is something that you're grateful for, and every breath out is just something that you no longer need, or you don't need to worry about. And again, slowly on your time, you can move props out of the way if they're in your space, and then you can bring your knees back to center, taking a moment to roll from side to side. Again, release, flow back. And then just roll from one side or the other, just to push yourself up in a comfortable seated position. So take your time here. We're on our back, serve it. Keep it slow. And we are going to take a brief step in a forward fold. So grab onto any props that you need for that. Coming onto your mat, moving your fleshy parts to get your sit bones like really grounded on the mat. So just actually move your sit bones apart so that they can ground down. And then grabbing onto pillows, blocks, books, whatever you got. Stacking them up to where you think you might need them. Pointing your toes up to the ceiling, extending your legs as long as they can go. Inhale, bring your gaze of your arms up. Just allow yourself to really reach towards the ceiling for a few moments here. You should feel a great side body stretch on both sides. See if you can reach just 1 little centimeter higher. And then on your exhale, just start to reach towards your toes, towards the front of your room. And as your spine starts to really generously round, that's when you can really release down into your props. And you might need to move them around a bit just to get comfortable here, but just allow yourself to really hang heavy without holding yourself up. So that's why we use props, especially in forward folds, or seated forward folds, I should say, because typically your upper body would have to do a lot of work to hold you up here. We want you to really surrender into this so that you can get the benefits of your low back opening, your hamstrings really opening, to give your heart a little bit of a break. If you can bring your head a little bit lower than your heart, or at least the same level. And just imagine on every exhale that you can bring your chest closer to your thighs, and you might be 10 pillows away from that, but just the visual of it just helps you melt more into this pose, helps you start to really open up your low back. Your hamstrings are lengthening as you're hearing me talk right now. And it's just helping you overall just get into that really great forward fold that is so helpful for resetting our parasympathetic nervous system. So our flight or fight response, typically we're so hyped up all day because we have to react to things and respond and get things done and move work through and clean and pick up after people or things or whatever, animals. And this just helps us reset and say, okay, I don't need to be rushing around all the time, and I don't need to be racing in my thoughts, and I can just kind of ease into this and relax. So just really allow yourself to hang heavy here. Use these few moments to really breathe, coming back to your intention, your why for joining class, and just letting things go on every exhale as you try to bring your chest closer to your thighs. See if on your next exhale, you can just imagine that you're bringing your chest even lower. You can release down just a little bit more, allowing your low back that we've allowed for so much opening already in class. See if it will just let you get a little bit closer. Releasing any areas of tension. Not forcing, just allowing. Slowly on your next inhale, just start to make your way out of this. So taking your time, coming out, moving your props out of the way. And bending your knees, bringing them in towards your chest. Bring your hands behind your low back with your fingertips facing your glutes, and then just sway your knees from side to side. Releasing low back. Again, we've done a lot of low back opening, so just be kind to your low back here. And then make your way to tabletop position on your mat. And on your next exhale, head to child's pose. So sink, touch your toes, bring your knees about mat's width distance or a little wider apart, sink down into your sits bones, and then start to crawl your fingertips towards the top of your mat, allowing your forehead to touch down onto something. So you might need some pillows or some blocks or something to prop yourself up. That's totally okay. You might need something underneath your knees if you've got some knee issues. Just listening to yourself, what you need, allowing yourself to fully release into this child's pose. Again, we're getting into the hip area. We're starting to open that up, continuing to open low back. Now we're also getting into upper back with our fingertips as they reach towards the top of the mat. You should feel that side body stretch, that stretch in your lats or your upper back. And touching your forehead down to a prop or the mat also helps bring a sense of calm, a sense of grounding, a sense of relief. Just melt here into your mat. Imagine almost that your mat could just swallow you up. You could just keep sinking into the earth. And because you're so open and you're so, releasing all that stuff that you no longer need, you're making space for all the good stuff to come your way, all that good energy. Child's pose is a really great grounding pose that you can do at any time. And so often when I was teaching vinyasa class quite regularly, I would say, no matter what I'm telling you to do, if you just need a rest, just come to child's pose. It's just such a great pose to help reset and just touch down. And if you're feeling overwhelmed or just need a reset or a break, child's pose is such a grounding, great pose for that. So I do usually put it in every class, no matter what format. Again, just because it's just such a great reset button for our systems. But it's one of those poses that throughout your week, if you're like, I just can't do it, I can't handle this week or this moment or whatever, and you're in your own space and it's not weird that you're just gonna go down in child's pose. Highly recommend hanging out in child's pose for a few minutes if you just need that moment to recollect yourself or whatever. Maybe you had a hard meeting or there's a project you have to tackle and you don't even know where to start or whatever. It's just a really great way to touch down, get that calming and grounding and feeling like, hey, I'm more in control now. That's a great tool to bust out if you ever need a little something. Take one more round of breath here, taking in what you still need and releasing anything that you don't. And on your time, when you're ready, start to make your way out of this, moving any props out of the way. Coming back to that tabletop position, allowing your hips to sway from side to side. And on your next inhale, really ground down into your left finger or your left palm and fingertips. Inhale, take your right arm up to the sky, your gaze up. Exhale for thread the needle. So start to bring your right palm up towards the sky, facing up towards the sky, but bringing it through towards the left-hand side, coming down onto that right shoulder. And then your choice for legs, you can stay in tabletop, you can come down more to a child's pose stance, just depending on how intense you want this stretch to be on your right shoulder. And then just start to extend your left fingertips towards the top of your mat if you want to get really into that side, that right side, and get some more grounding. So it's really up to you what you need here. You might need a prop underneath your shoulder if it's just too intense of an opening stretch for you. You can always roll up a mat or shove a pillow there. Your knees might be bothering you. You can always roll up a mat or part of your mat, your yoga mat, to help with that. Just find a good position for your body that feels good. And close your eyes if you haven't done so already. And just imagine that in this posture right here, you're compressing your shoulder, so you're allowing for some more opening to happen in your upper body, and you're allowing yourself to undo all of the damage we do from sitting on our couches, not using our core, or sitting in our office chair or whatever, sitting in our bed for telework and punching over our computers or sitting on our phones and doom scrolling or whatever, and just really like not engaging your core, not allowing your shoulders to be up and down your back. This really just helps undo that slumped over posture, that hunching that we do all day long. We don't mean to do it. It's just a natural thing. And being at home as much as we are, we just aren't thinking as much about, proper spine alignment and sitting up properly and then the right chair or whatever. So it just might be, more needed than typical. And we're more than halfway through this side. So If you do need to adjust, try not to fidget. So if you're just moving around because you're like, oh, this is a little uncomfortable, or you're thinking about a bunch of stuff, just try to stay still, slow your breath down just a little bit. Allow yourself to just really surrender into this posture. Use your breath here. You've extended your left fingertips towards the top of your mat to start to slide them in towards your face. Grounding down into the left palm. Inhale, bring your right arm back up to the sky. And then just take some arm circles in one direction. And then in the opposite direction, just loosen that back up. And before we take the other side, we're gonna take a pigeon on the right hand side. So we're just gonna do the right side first, and then we'll switch it out to doing the left. So coming into that tabletop position, start to slide your right knee in towards your right wrist, and then grab onto your right ankle to bring it as parallel as you can to the top of your mat. Extend your left leg long behind you. Taking a brief pause to peek over either shoulder just to ground your hips down towards the mat. Inhale, take your gaze up. And then exhale, just start to crawl yourself down to put your pigeon or sleeping swan to sleep. You can always take frog if you'd rather. You might need to prop yourself up with a bunch of pillows like I am. You might need to shove a pillow underneath your right hip or roll something up under your knee. You can always take this on your back. So many options here. Doing what feels right for you and your body, listening and honoring that. And our hip openers can be quite uncomfortable if you tend to store tension in your hips, or you've got, tight hamstrings, low back stuff, can be quite intense as well. So just listening to where you're at, not judging, just allowing yourself to open, closing your eyes when you get into a comfortable shape. And again, you might need to move around a bit in this posture just to find what works for you. And every week, for me, my body is changing, and so I need to find a new shape that's comfortable for me, and that might mean more props or just different placement of things. And, even if you're not experiencing or going through the same thing I am, your bodies are changing too, because each week you're dealing with different things. You might have more stress happening, less stress happening. You might be working out more or less, moving more or less, having other life crisis things happening or not. So instead of saying, well, this is how I always do my pigeon pose, or this is how I always, get into this posture, just honoring that each week your body is different and each side of your body is different. And it's okay to need to adjust and get props that normally you might not. So put your ego aside, allow yourself to fully get into this posture. And then once you're there, just try to stay still. Try not to fidget. Allow the opening to happen in your hip area. Allow that release to happen. Allow those emotions and thoughts come up, whatever they are, so that you can release them and leave them behind. If you try to just shove all that stuff down again and say, I'm not dealing with this right now, it's going to keep coming back up. It's going to just, be waiting for you until next week or whatever. So you just allow yourself to fully get through it, to release, to let something go. Maybe it's something so simple that you're like, I didn't realize that bothered me. But if you're carrying it around, it just gets so heavy. Just see if you can just let it go. Take a deep breath in. Big open mouth, sigh out, let it all go. Your next inhale, start to make your way out of this very slowly, moving any props. Coming back to that tabletop position, allowing yourself to just work it out however feels good to you. So it might just be swaying your hips from side to side. You might extend your right leg back, pressing your toes into the mat to get a nice stretch on the back side of your right leg. And then when you're ready, coming back to that tabletop, and we are going to thread the needle on the other side. So planting your right palm into the mat. Inhale, your left fingertips up to the sky. Take your gaze up to your fingertips, and then exhale, bring it through for thread the needle on this side. And again, play around with how your legs are positioned. You can extend your right palm up to the sky. Whatever feels good to you here, take it. Using props if you want or you need. And just really sinking in to the shoulder to get whatever tension and stress and stuff that you're holding on up here in your upper body out. And on your next exhale, just release. Release into the mat as much as you can. Close your eyes. Come back to your breath here. You'd let your mind completely wander. It's okay. Just bring yourself back to your mat, to your space, what's happening around you, the sounds you might hear, sound of my voice, the music. Again, releasing any tension that you might be holding onto in your face, softening your jaw, allowing yourself to really breathe here. You've extended your right fingertips towards the top of your mat. Just start to slide them back in towards your face. Ground down into your right palm. Inhale, lift your left palm up to the sky. And then just take some arm circles one direction. And then pause and take them in the opposite direction. And just to loosen that up there. And then we are going to take our pigeon on our left side just to keep ourselves even to get into that space. So coming back to tabletop, sliding your left knee into your left wrist, grabbing onto your left ankle, bring your left shin as parallel as you can to the top of your mat. Send your right leg behind you. Take a peek over either shoulder, grab your hips. Inhale, take your gaze up. Exhale, fold over onto your props or just onto the mat to fully release here. And close your eyes once you have found your shape that feels good and using as many props as you need here. Allowing yourself to fully surrender as much as you can into this pose. And pigeon pose typically is not very comfortable for a lot of us. Especially if you, again, store a lot of tension in your hip area, not gonna feel so great. But every time you come to pigeon, it's an opportunity to release, to stretch out, to open up, to let something go. So just use this time for you, take advantage of it, to clear all that out. I like to use the visual of imagining a junk drawer that we probably all have in our house somewhere, or many of them, or a closet or whatever, that you just don't know what to do with something and you need it out of your space, you just throw it in that spot. And before you know it, you can hardly get the drawer or the closet open or closed because there's just so much stuff, so much random things that you don't need to be holding on to. They don't really have a purpose or aren't used very often sometimes, but they're there and they keep piling up. So our hips are kind of like our junk drawer or our closet or whatever, where, don't want to deal with that thing, I'm just going to shove it there. So if you need to visualize something to help you just like fully surrender and release and imagine that you are finally allowing yourself to release that stuff, just picture that junk drawer and maybe in there is just some stuff, some hard things you've been carrying around. And it's time to just get those out. You're gonna reorganize, and the only things that can go back into that drawer are great positive things. So Pollyanna, I know, but just things that that fill you up, that make you happy, that bring you joy. Maybe it's your pets, or a small moment, or a thing, or a person, or whatever it is. Something that you have gratitude for. Only that kind of stuff can go back in that drawer. Fears and worries of what may never happen and probably won't happen, they're not allowed back in that drawer. it's so easy to get so spun out and to get so worked up over something that, you know, we're so scared of. And we spend all of our energy thinking about this thing, obsessing over it, whatever. And it just holds us back from actually enjoying that really good stuff or that good thing that finally happened for us. So as we are almost done with this side, just imagine that drawer again, or that closet, and how nice that looks now. The things, the good stuff that you've allowed to go back there. And all that other junk that's just kind of hanging out off to the side, you're just gonna throw it away, get it out of your space, clear the clutter out. You don't have room for it anymore because all that good stuff just takes up so much extra space, so much bright light. And your next inhale, start to come out of this side. So just, again, taking your time, allowing yourself to come out of this gracefully or not, especially if you've gotten really deep into it or just allowed yourself to really surrender there, moving perhaps out of the way. Coming either back to your tabletop to spread your hips from side to side, or you might want to extend your left leg long now to get a big stretch. And then when you're ready, we're just going to come down to our mats, all the way down. So for me, I'm grabbing your prop myself up a little bit, but you can come all the way down to your mat. And then just once you're all the way down, take a brief stop in your happy baby if you want, or you can just bring your knees in towards your chest. If you want to come to happy baby, you can just grab onto the outer edges of your feet. If that's inaccessible to you, you can grab onto your shins. You can either stay still or you can just sway from side to side gently to release low back. Taking what you still need. If any other postures or expressions are calling for you, take those. If you're ready, we're going to head to our final resting shape, our Shavasana. So if you're near a wall and want to do legs up the wall, just for a really good reset, you can extend your legs up the wall. Allow your circulation to happen. If you want to, you can just come to traditional Shavasana and stretching out on your mat, whatever feels good to you. We're taking time to really settle in here before you come to your final shape. You can bring your hands to your belly to really pay attention and to slow down your breathing, or you can bring them to the floor with your palms facing down for some extra grounding. Really good if you're feeling still a little anxious. And once you've allowed yourself to get into your shape, softly closing your eyes, but releasing any tension between your eyebrows. So if you're furrowing your eyebrows or squinting your face up, just allow that to melt away. Releasing any tension in your jaw area. Allowing your shoulders to release down from your ears just a little bit. So just trying to roll them down your back. Softening your fingertips and your hands. Allowing your low back to really open. Allowing your feet, your toes to hang heavy so that you can fully stretch out and relax here. Enjoy your next few minutes of rest. Shavasana is here for you as long as you need tonight. If you're enjoying your rest and can continue to do so, tune out the sound of my voice and just continue to take up your space. If you want to move forward with your evening so that you can wind down and get into bed, just bring a little bit of awareness and attention to back to your body. So wiggling your fingertips and your toes. Perhaps you roll out your wrists and your ankles. And then just come to either side for a brief stop in fetal pose. Closing your eyes here, just taking a moment of gratitude for yourself, for your yoga practice. Coming up when you're ready to a comfortable seated position. Bring your hands to your heart center and then softly just close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, a deep breath out. Breathe in something awesome, something great that you still need. Breathe out something you're no longer going to carry. Tonight, I'll leave with you just a short quote from the youth poet from today's inauguration. I don't know if you saw it, but it was just awesome. She says, "For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it." Take a deep breath in and a full deep sigh out. Namaste.